became interested in holistic medicine, alternative medicine. My dad's cousin was a homeopath down in London, and she was always talking about the importance of looking at things a little bit differently, how Western medicine and doctors didn't have all the answers. So I kind of grew up with that in the back of my mind. And then I went for a Reiki session, and I wasn't really expecting much. I was kind of expecting a nice relaxing experience. And after one Reiki session, the pain had gone. And I didn't really realise until I got home, excuse me, I bent down to pick my car keys up, and I realised that was the first time I'd been able to bend down properly, 4 months. So I went back for a second Reiki session, and it just blew my mind. So I took my Reiki level 1 and then just took the plunge. I absolutely loved doing it. I did so many different qualifications, and I could see how everything fits together. And this is where this series has come from in terms of the interconnectivity of everything. And I just thought, I just want to do this full time. So this series will be for anyone who wants to understand a little bit more about how the concept of mind, body, spirit interconnectivity works. You don't have to have any prior knowledge. I'm hoping it's going to be quite basic and take people through step by step. And just all I ask is that you approach it with an open mind. So we'll start off with an introduction into the mind, body and spirit. And then the series will take you through the body, then the mind, then the spirit. So how you can tell when things are slightly off, how they are connected. And then the last episode of the series will be pulling it all together to look at how you can address problems with the mind, the body and the spirit, and how one impacts the other. So I definitely try and watch them in sequence if you can. It will make a lot more sense if you watch the mind, body and then the spirit one. A lot of what I'm saying here, you might think it relates to you, but I'd always say find a therapist to find out exactly what's going on with your body, because whilst the theories and my experience will come through in this episode, no two people are the same. So it might be that the things I'm talking about here are generic, but you might need a more of a specialist approach. This is episode 1 that I'll just look briefly at the core principles of the mind, body, spirit interconnectivity and a little bit of history about where it's all come from. We tend to look at the interconnectivity of mind, body and spirit as quite a new age concept, but actually it's been around for a long time. So as early back as around 1500 BC with the Indian culture, ancient Greeks around 700 BC, and 500 BC with, I think it was Pythagoras. And they started looking in those times, they believed in those times that the body and the spirit and the mind were all connected, and to be healthy you had to maintain a balance of all three. When one of the three became out of balance, that's when things started to go wrong, disease started. So with Pythagoras and his followers, he was the first to start prescribing things like walking in the fresh air, learning new things to alleviate physical symptoms. Hippocrates as well, again in the ancient Greek culture, he believed in the balance of what he called the 4 fluids, or the 4 humours as we knew it in Western culture as it came over. So that the 4 humours were blood, yellow bile, black bile and phlegm. And we'll touch a little bit more on that in the later episode. But literally he believed that, again, the balance of all 4 were necessary to keep somebody healthy. We also see this in Native American cultures where they believed the wheel of health that looked at the connectivity of the person to the environment that they lived in, to their community. And that's still in use today, but more as a self-development tool, a personal development tool. Cultures such as the First Nations of Australia as well believed in the balance of human spirit and human body. The Buddhists also believe in the connectivity of the dense, so the body, the subtle, the mind, and the very subtle, the ethereal spirit of the person. And how that is essential for good health and well-being. The Egyptians also believed in the free flow of energy, and how the free flow of energy was essential to well-being. And that is a concept that, again, I'll touch more on in this series. But they believed that the blood should flow and the water should flow through the body and they likened it to the Nile. So when the Nile gets blocked, that's when the crops start to fail because of the stagnation in the water. So they likened that to the flow of the humus through the body. The Tibetan monks as well also believe that balance is essential to good health, and they again were amongst the first culture to actually treat the imbalance as at the cause of the health rather than just looking at the symptoms. And that is a belief system that they carry on as well today. So you can see that a lot of the beliefs, although ancient beliefs, are still carried through in a lot of traditions today. And we seem to have lost that a little bit in the West. So again, part of what I'll be touching on in a later episode is the Indian belief in the chakras and the energy flow being essential to human vitality. The Indian belief is that we have energy centres in our body called chakras. We have, I think, over 100 chakras, but they concentrate on 7 main ones. And again, we'll look at that in a future episode. But that again is an ancient belief dating back to 1500 BC. So you can see again how these beliefs are forged in very ancient traditions. Something else I'll be looking at through this series is the Chinese belief of the parallels and the connectivity between muscles, organs and emotions. So again, from that you get the physical, the muscles, the organs relate to emotions, which is your mental, your mind, and then how that impacts on your well-being and your spirit. So again, the Chinese belief system dates back to the 4th century BC, so these are ancient traditions that we're looking at. So the Chinese have 5 elements that they believe is the essence of all life: wood, metal, water, earth and fire. Taking one of those elements as an example, the fire. Fire they link to the heart, and the small intestines are 2 of the organs that they believe link to the fire element. They have a governing and a nurturing relationship with other elements, which we will go into in further detail in a different series, in a future series. But the belief system then goes further to say the emotions that are linked to the stomach and to the large intestine and the heart. So the heart, for example, is joy. So you can see how the connectivity of the body, the organ, and the emotion are all linked in Chinese theories. But we'll come to that later on. So a lot of us have heard of Hippocrates in modern Western medicine. A lot of his teachings were still in use in Western medicine right into, I think, even Victorian times. We talk about the 4 humours, the yellow bile, black bile, phlegm and blood, and that formed the cornerstone of our medicine until relatively recently. A lot of you will remember from your history, GCSE history classes, around the bloodletting and things, and that was all around the imbalance of the 4 humours, the 4 fluids. And we treated them in what we see now as quite archaic ways. As medical technology moved on in the West, we lost all of that. We lost not just the treatment side of it, but also the theory side of it as well, which I think is a shame. Obviously, I'm not advocating bloodletting with leeches, but it's a shame that we've lost the knowledge and the traditions that underpinned the bloodletting and the treatment, the Victorian or the old-fashioned, as we call it, way of treating people. All of these different cultures formed similar beliefs completely independently of each other, yet the common themes are the energy flow through the body and the balance of the emotional, the body and the spiritual. And even to see that influenced our medical development until really, really recently, it's such a shame that we seem to have lost all of those traditions, that there must still be something in it, because the Chinese and the Indian cultures and medicinal practices still use them today. They've developed so they incorporate more of the modern medicine, the Western techniques, but they still use the fundamental basics of the energy flows, of the balance, to underpin their medical practices today. So it's such a shame that we've lost it. And what I'd like to do through this series is educate people how you can keep yourself healthy, how you can keep your healthy balance of your mind, your body and your spirit, and prevent yourself getting ill just by keeping that balance in check. It does appear as though we're coming a little bit more around to this way of thinking. Recent Department of Health initiatives have started to look at the 5 ways to well-being, where they're acknowledging that actually being well isn't just about taking medicine. It's not just about going to the doctor. They introduced the 5 ways of well-being a few years ago, which is the directive that if you introduce these 5 things into your life, your general well-being and health will improve. So the 5 ways to well-being are to connect, to be active, to learn, to give, and to take notice. So that is all around your environment. That's all around challenging yourself, which actually links to your solar plexus chakra, which I'll go into in more detail. But when you break it down like that, it does appear as though we're starting to kind of introduce a little bit more of that basic of the mind, body, spirit back into our culture, albeit in a very medicalised way. So the importance of this way of thinking is that it's not just preventative. Myself and my colleagues in these professions see that we can help people with longer term conditions, people who've been struggling with illness, pain for a long time, can be helped by using these systems that we see as alternative, that we see as slightly out there, but we see on a day-to-day basis how they can help proactively people with issues and pain. In episode 2, we will start to look at the body and what a healthy body looks like, and how you can start to explore how a healthy body links to a healthy mind and a healthy spirit.